Hello everyone, it is I, PC, and this is going to be my movie review of Mortal Kombat! And this movie has been in the works for quite some time. It was announced back in January that we were going to get this movie, and I was kind of skeptical about it because, we haven't had a good track record when it comes to Mortal Kombat movies. I mean, I watched the 1994 one, which I actually enjoy that movie a lot because it was a movie from my childhood. Despite the fact that it was PG, I still think that the 1994 movie still holds up very well, and the casting is solid in that movie, especially with Christopher Lambert as Raiden. Then you had Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which it should have been called Mortal Kombat Abomination, because this movie is terrible in every single aspect. Terrible casting, terrible fight scenes, just everything about that movie was shit. So I told myself that I was going to go into this next Mortal Kombat movie with an open mind and a fair assessment. And now that I've seen the movie, I can safely say that this movie is 10 times better than Annihilation. Hell, I would even go as far as to say that this movie is probably the best Mortal Kombat movie we've gotten so far. Yet, I wouldn't say that this is a great movie by any stretch of the imagination. There's definitely some problems I have with this movie, which I'll get into. But for the most part, I think that this movie is entertaining, and the movie does pick up on the violence, which the other movies definitely lacked in. Now, I am going to give you guys a brief summary of this movie, and then I'll get into what I liked about it and what I don't like about it. So, in this movie, we follow a character that has not been in any of the games. He goes by the name of Ko Young, and he is an MMA fighter who finds out that he has been chosen as a champion for Earthrealm in a deadly fighting tournament known as Mortal Kombat. He also meets up with the other Earthrealm champions, Kano, Sonya Blade, Jax, Liu Kang, Kung Lao, and the god and protector of Earthrealm, Raiden. Which sadly he isn't no Christopher Lambert, but I'll still take him. But then we meet the evil sorcerer himself, Shang Tsung, who is hesitant to wait until the tournament starts, so he decides to send his deadliest warriors to take out the Earthrealmers once and for all. But then Ko finds out that he is actually a descendant of Scorpion, and he has to find his hidden power so that way he is able to fight for Earthrealm. Now let's talk about what I like about this movie. Now, for the most part, the movie does a solid job with the characters. The characters act just like their video game counterparts, especially Kano, which I laughed at every single fucking word that came out of his mouth. And while I still have a place in my heart for Trevor Goddard's performance of Kano in the 1994 Mortal Kombat movie, yet the Kano in this movie exceeds above Trevor Goddard's performance, and that's just being honest, okay? Now, this movie does a fantastic job of portraying the characters that are in it. However, I feel like they dropped the ball with Sonya Blade. I feel like they didn't do a whole lot with her character, which I know she wasn't chosen as Earthrealm's champion because she didn't have the Mortal Kombat logo on her, which I'll get into the mark here in a little bit, but I feel like they dropped the ball on Sonya Blade, and she could have done a lot more than just sit around and be a cheerleader. I also didn't like the fact that they didn't do a whole lot with Jax either. I mean, they do a good job of explaining how he gets his metal arms, but he doesn't actually do much fighting in this movie. He only gets like 2 fight scenes, and that's it. Now, I love Liu Kang and Kung Lao and how they were portrayed in this movie, and the movie pretty much nails their characters spot on. As for Lord Raiden, I wish there was more that they could have done with Raiden too, which I understand that Raiden is limited because he can't actually help the Earthrealmers fight in this tournament, but I felt like he could have been a much more bigger role in this movie than just the exposition giver. Now, one of the things I don't like about Raiden in this movie is how much of a dick he is. He basically puts down all of his fighters and tells them how hopeless they are. And it's like, seriously, dude, you chose these fuckers. Why are you being a dick about it? Now, I could go on about all the other characters that they sort of messed up on, but I will be here all day. So I'll say, for the most part, I liked how all the characters were portrayed. But I feel like characters like Sonya Blade and Jax, they should have had a bigger part in this movie. But now that I've gotten those characters out of the way, let's focus on the main characters, the real main characters, which I feel the main characters of this movie was Cole and Sub-Zero. Now, Sub-Zero in this movie is actually the Sub-Zero that was in the first game. The same Sub-Zero that murdered Scorpion and his family and his clan, who would later become Noob Saibot. Now, in this movie, he's pretty much portrayed the same way as he is in the games, yet I think that the Sub-Zero in this movie is the real main villain and not Shang Tsung, because it's at the very beginning. We learn a lot about Sub-Zero. He's cold-hearted. He doesn't care who he kills, whether it's a child, whether it's a woman. And he is fucking badass as hell, and I love how they portrayed Sub-Zero in this movie. Now, I've saved the worst for last, which has to be Cole. Cole is by far the worst character in this entire movie, because he's so bland and uninteresting. I mean, this is supposed to be the descendant of Scorpion. I mean, yeah, he cares about protecting his family and all that, but really there isn't much interesting about this character. I mean, he's a good fighter, but at the same time, he is incompetent, and he's such a doubter. And it's not until the very end of the movie where he finally unlocks his powers, which even his powers are not that interesting. He gets an armor and really sharp blades on his arms. Like, seriously, that's lame. I mean, he's supposed to be the descendant of Scorpion. Why couldn't he just get Scorpion's powers? I mean, that would have been fucking cool. So yeah, Cole wasn't that interesting for me, and Johnny Cage should have been in this movie. Now that I've gotten that rant out of my head, let's talk about the fight scenes, which I thought for the most part the fight scenes were pretty damn good. I mean, it's fast-paced, there's enough action in there that keeps you interested, and it's fucking entertaining. Especially the end fight scene with Scorpion and Sub-Zero, which is the highlight of the entire movie. And the way they choreographed it and the scenery and everything, it is all perfect. And it's definitely something that you should check out. And I'm actually happy to see actual blood and fatalities. Unlike the other Mortal Kombat movies, which were all PG-13, this movie is rated R, and when it comes to gore and blood, this movie does not care to show it. Now, one of the things I really don't like about this movie is the fact that there is less fighting and more talking. And this is painfully obvious in the training scenes, which it's nothing more than the characters talking. I mean, I understand that we need a break from the fighting, and we need more time to develop the story and give out some exposition. However, in this case, it feels like it drags the movie on, making it feel much longer than it needs to be. Now, granted, I do enjoy the character interactions, especially the scenes with Kano. However, I felt like the exposition that they were given just wasn't that interesting. I felt that most of the story was predictable. I mean, I knew that Scorpion wasn't going to show up until the very end of the movie. And I knew that Kano was going to betray everyone because he's fucking Kano. And with all this time that you put into the exposition, you could have given it to the other characters that really needed fleshing out, like Sonya and Jax. I mean, seriously, who gives a fuck about Cole and his family? I mean, was it even necessary to have them in more than one scene? I mean, really, one scene is all we need to know about Cole and his family. Really, all the movie needed to be is more fighting and less story heavy. Because this is a movie based on one of the goriest fighting games ever made. And there is no reason to learn about family values from Mortal Kombat. That's all I really have to say about that. As for the technical side of things, I think that the movie looks really good for the most part. I mean, some of the CGI looks really good, but in some scenes it looks very bad and outdated. Like, look at the CGI they used for Jack's arms. Seriously, that looks terrible. Now, I do like the CGI Goro in this movie. Nothing beats practical effects, and the Goro from the original 1994 movie will always be the best Goro. But nevertheless, I enjoy this movie, and I think it is highly entertaining, despite all the problems I have with this movie. I felt like the people behind this movie were fans of the game, and they put a lot of love and attention to detail in making this movie as good as it is. And I am very much looking forward to a potential sequel, and hopefully the sequel will turn out even better. Now, I'm going to rate this movie a 6 out of 10, and I highly recommend you check out this movie. It's available on HBO Max as well as in theaters. So anyways, that's my review of Mortal Kombat 2021. And if you guys have seen this movie, let me know in the comments section your thoughts, as well as subscribe to this channel for more content in the future. Anyways, this has been PC, signing out. I'll see you guys in the next review.